In today's video, guys, we're going to talk about pre-closing and post-closing, what you need to know, everything leading up to closing, and then what you can do after closing. What's up, guys? It is Ryan.
And I'm Neil.
And today we wanted to talk about what you need to know pre-closing or leading up to your closing date, and then post-closing, what you can actually do, because before you actually buy that house, we're going to be really strict with you, and for good reason. Now, the reason for this video is because we've had some people that have gotten some misinformation. They're listening to friends, or they're listening to other people that are not industry professionals, people who do this every single day, which is what Neil and I are. And so what we want to do is give you a little guide or a little reference as to what you need to know leading up to buying a house, starting 2 years out, and then what you can do the day of settlement. The first thing you need to realize, guys, is when you're buying a house, they're going to look at what time frame, Neil?
The last 2 years of your income.
And the reason for that is because before somebody's going to give you $200,000, $300,000, $400,000,
right,
they want to make sure that your 2-year work history is good. Now, while you're doing this, okay, and you're making sure, it's okay if you change jobs, okay? You don't want to if you can avoid it, just makes it easier on you. But you can have 2 or 3 jobs.
Or 4 or 5 jobs, as long as there's not a large gap.
Correct. You don't want to have, in this employment, you don't want to have a gap for 9 months. That is bad. But what you do want to do is you want to make sure that you have 2 solid years of employment. If you're 1099, you need to make sure you file your taxes for 2 years. And what's the one thing you don't want to do when you're a 1099 employee when it comes to your taxes?
You don't want to write everything off, because we can only use what you paid tax on.
Correct. So if you make $100,000, but you write $70,000 of it off in expenses, we only get to use $30,000. So that $100,000 in income is not really helping you.
My line, I always say, you can't have it both ways. You can't not pay taxes and then buy a big house.
Right.
You have to pay your fair share of taxes.
Exactly. Now, while you're working on the employment,
Excuse me. Also, if you're not sure with your self-employed, call us.
Yep.
We'll run the numbers and say, write off this much,
Yep.
or don't write off this much. It's pretty easy.
Also, guys, while you're working on the employment, because while you're working on the employment, you're just going to be making money, in which case you should be budgeting your money, and then you should also be saving your money for your down payment and your closing costs. But while all this is happening, the first most important thing you need to do is you need to be working on building and establishing a good credit profile. Why is a credit profile so important, Neil?
Because that's how they determine how you pay things.
Your credit score determines the loan conditions. It's going to help them understand how much money you're going to have to put down. It's going to help you realize whether or not you're going to have reserves. Your credit score is going to determine your interest rate. Your credit score determines so many factors with regards to your mortgage, which is why that's the first most important thing to talk about.
Also, we always say this, and we'll say it and we'll keep reiterating it. Credit cards are good if used, because it's the best way to determine how you pay.
Exactly. So when you're working on these things, again, the 2 years before you go under contract, you go under contract here, typically it's going to be between 30 and 60 days. It could be as low as 3 weeks. We can do a mortgage in 3 weeks, sometimes even less, depending on the circumstances. But typically it's going to be 30 to 45 or 60 days.
Don't co-sign for anybody.
That could actually go back to here. No.
Remember, it's going to come back to bite you.
In the last year, I highly recommend you don't apply for anything. Why? No inquiries will help build your credit score. Number 2, if you don't have new lines of credit, you will have less monthly payments, which is going to help your debt to income ratio.
And you're going to afford a bigger house.
Right. If you have more monthly payments when you go to buy a house, you're going to buy a smaller house. If you have less monthly payments when you go to buy a house, you get a bigger house. These are all simple things for you to understand. Let's say you go under contract. The one thing you don't want to do, the 2 things you don't want to do. Number 1, you don't want to buy a car. So many people, they get under contract and they think, oh my gosh, I qualify.
Run out and buy a car. Run out and buy furniture. Run out and buy, like, washer and dryer. No, 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 because anything you open up, we're going to find out, and it might all of a sudden disqualify you, and you'd be sleeping in that car.
Or the refrigerator boxes, we like to say sometimes. But the reality is this, guys. Once you go under contract, this is where you cannot do anything. You are in complete financial lockdown. Sometimes you need to boost your savings to make sure you have enough money for the down payment and closing costs. Sometimes you need to just make sure you lock down your credit. You still do your normal average purchases, your normal gas, your groceries.
Debit cards we don't care about.
Yeah.
We don't even care about your credit cards that you have. If you use them, we don't see that.
Let's just say right here, let's just say this is 3 months out and this is 60 days. We pull your credit, which is typically good for 120 days. We've gone back and forth on this, but 120 days is what it actually is.
That's 4 months.
4 months. Right. 120 days, we pull your credit. As long as you close within 120 days, we don't have to re-pull your credit again. Now, we did have somebody yesterday, we pulled their credit in the beginning of April, and we needed to re-pull the credit for 2 reasons. Number one, their monthly payments on their cards were all high. They paid them all down, so now his debt-to-income ratio got lowered, and because of having less credit card debt, his score went up. So it was a double win.
And he qualified for a bigger mortgage.
Correct. So there was a double benefit for him. But he also knew and realized that once he pulled his credit, he could not apply for new credit, and he wanted to absolutely make sure he starts to save every penny possible. Once you do all this and you go under contract, again, like Neil said, you do not buy furniture. You do not go out and order anything for the house.
Costs nothing to look.
Window shopping's fine. No ordering, no buying, no new contracts, no new credit cards, nothing from that time frame when you go under contract until you settle. But once you settle and you signed all those documents, we're going to pop the confetti, we're going to send off the balloons, and Neil
will drive you to the Rolls-Royce dealership. I had a call yesterday. It made me laugh. She closed yesterday. She talked to a friend. Her friend told her that she can't buy anything for 30 days because they're still looking at your credit. False, false, false. Nobody cares now. I told her that she doesn't follow me on Facebook because you would realize that I would drive you to the Rolls-Royce dealership. You can buy anything you want. Make sure you pay your payments. But right now, the day after closing, an hour after closing, you can buy anything that you qualify for.
Even if you're told you have a clear to close and you apply for something and that radar goes off at the lender, that could prevent you from closing on your house. We've seen that happen before. Because somebody got a clear to close like a week in advance and then they went and applied for something new and the lender says, whoa, 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 we just got an alert. What are you applying for? So just be careful. But once you settle, once that day comes and you've signed your name on those papers, you're good to go. All right. Here's one last thing I actually want to add. This was another conversation for somebody who went under contract. They went under contract just on, we'll say, Saturday. Okay? We gave him today's rates. Today's rates. This was actually Monday. He went under contract Saturday, gave him rates over the weekend saying this is approximately what it is. He talked to somebody over the weekend and he says, well, my rate was 3/4 of a point lower. Let's just conceptually say we told him 5.75 and his friend said, I got a rate of 5%. And he says, well, that's a big difference. Yeah, because he settled back here.
And he went under contract 2 months ago.
Right, 2 or 3 months ago. Before this, the problem with that is this, guys. In today's market, the rates have doubled since January. So anybody who was at 2.75%, it's 5.5% now. Okay? So just realize, rates just came down today. So rates could be different from when somebody else went. Plus, you don't know their credit score. You don't know what their purchase looked like. You don't know what their debt-to-income ratio was.
You don't know the situation.
You don't know if they put 5% down or 20% down. It's really important, guys, to realize your scenario or situation can be very, very different. Anyway, guys, we hope you had some fun with that video. If you have any questions with regards to that, put the comments below, send us a message, or even pick up the phone and give us a call.
If you have one of these crazy relatives or friends that are in your ear telling you stuff, just call us. I get this all the time. Somebody that was a friend of somebody, their dog's brother's sister, was in the mortgage business or was a realtor.
30 years ago.
And all of a sudden they know everything. They're an expert. They slept at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so they're a brain surgeon. Just call us.
All right? If there's anything we didn't cover in this, any questions you have, let us know. If there's another topic that you would like us to discuss, send us a message or put that below as well, and we'll make the next video about that. All right, have a great day, and we'll catch up with you later.
Take care.